Welcome to another segment of Lousje and Bean Behind the Scene. It's a wintry Sunday. Welcome, lovelies. Boy, is it ever cold. My goodness. Cold, snowy, a real nice Canadian winter day, actually. Sun is shining, blue skies. What more do you want? I have my little espresso coffee and we're gonna have a little chit chat. So lovelies, last week we dropped the bomb, Bryn Walker, and so excited to show that to you. A lot of you are very familiar with that line and we're equally excited with us. So we're so happy to add that lovely line to all our other beautiful lines. And then for tomorrow, lovelies, we are unboxing another little batch of spring summer from Catharines, one of the favorite brands. So we got a lovely comment on YouTube. Actually, it was quite funny. I will read a little bit to you about it. Your name wasn't on it because it was YouTube, right? So just your username, which I won't use. But anyway, I loved your comment on my couch talks. You gave me a huge compliment. You said you're an inspiration at my age. You were saying that it made you realize that you are not ready for the recycle bin yet. Which I love. And I inspire you with doing things, you know, dressing, clothing, and that you're inspired by me because I kept motoring on. Well, that's for sure. And I've always motored on. I think ever since I was born, I motored on, and I will never stop motoring on. I'm not planning to retire at all because I love what I'm doing. Definitely a little less, and of course with not doing all the shows, that pressure is gone, which is a huge relief. Although I enjoyed it at the time, I don't miss it anymore. But a little bit about my life, because there's quite a few things you don't know about me, I'm sure. And I've been asked about it too. Have you always designed clothing? And you know, always it is no, definitely not. To be in the design business and to make it a success, you basically need to start with money and have a backer behind you, or you know, have enough money to support yourself and family. You have that luxury that you can do it on the side, right? Which I never had. So I did not start out as a designer. I did have a store in Lucian around the 80s. Tessa was 5 at the time. She was my youngest. My oldest was probably 13. And so I had 2 in between, 4 children, right? It was a busy time, and designing clothing and have it manufactured here. I had home sewers. It was a huge undertaking. And after 4 or 5 years, I had to close up. It wasn't working. Anyway, so lovely. I went in Amsterdam, believe it or not, I went to school for dietitian. I never finished the study. I did a practical in a big university hospital in Amsterdam. And then I met my then husband, and after 9 years we got married and went on the boat to Canada. Glenn is urging me to write my life story, which I will one of these days, because it could be 2 volumes, I'm sure. Anyway, then I came to Canada and we landed in Hamilton because one of my aunts lived here, sister of my mom. They sponsored us. At the time you needed a sponsor. This was 1969. And I applied at St. Joe's Hospital and I worked in the dietitian kitchen, and I absolutely hated every minute of it, but I worked there for about half a year. Then we moved to Grimsby and I worked in greenhouses, which I really liked actually. I worked in the orchid department and it was nice. Then after 3 years in work in Hamilton in the hospital, greenhouses, then I became pregnant with our first child in 1972, and I was fortunate to be with my children. So when Tessa went to school, when she was 5, kindergarten 4, I opened up the boutique in Lucian, and I had worked at home on already, you know, developing patterns, making samples. I had a whole collection on the back burner ready to go. So then I started that business. It was called Pierrot, and Lucian was a lovely, quaint town. It did okay, but it was a lot of work with home sewers and, you know, the children driving a lot of back and forth. Anyway, I had to give it up, and I was a little burned out, I guess. I gave it up and I morphed into something. Well, my then husband had a business of his own. He had quite a few businesses of his own, and I always helped with that. So lovely, at 48, I found that my marriage ended. I found myself single. The 4 kids were there, but Tessa was 17. And still in high school, my sons were, you know, around, so there were still 4 children. So I found myself with practically no money and what to do. So I looked in the papers, and there was always hairstylists asked, and I always cut the children's hair, and I like it. It's creative, right? So I liked it. So I signed up for beauty school, believe it or not, and I was in beauty school for a year with girls, 16, 17, 18-year-old girls, and I must say I really enjoyed it. They received me wonderful, and I had a very special time there. There was only one man in the class, and he was older too. He changed careers from a, believe it or not, auto mechanic to a hairstylist. Anyway, I graduated and I worked in a salon for 3 years. And now I have high respect for hairstylists because it is a very tough job. It is physically very, very hard on your body. Mentally, it's very hard because every client that steps in your chair treats you like a psychiatrist. And yeah, you hear a lot of stories. And at the end of the day, your body's tired and your head is ready to pop off your shoulders. So I could only last 3 years, and then I had a burnout. I couldn't do it anymore. But that career, I've never been sorry that I went that route. Afterwards, I found a job at a wonderful winery in Nijkerk, a Dutch winery, Marinus in the States. And they hired me right away because I was Dutch. I had no experience with wines or whatever. But I got lots of education. I got 2 wine certificates from the Ontario Wine Council, and by now I'm pretty knowledgeable about wine. I did that for 10 years. I really liked it. And then with the hair, in the evening, a lot of my hair clients came with me. I know that's not very kosher in the hair industry, but they wanted to come with me. So I always had a little hair salon in my house or apartment, and I cut hair in the evening. It was a good time, but I was always curious to see how it is back in Holland because I was homesick. I have been homesick for all the years I was here, basically. Tessa actually took over my apartment. I had a cute little apartment. She took it over because she was back here in Canada after coming back from college. So she took over my apartment. I went to Holland and I was there for a year. I lived in the attic of one of my sister's house. I found a job with a hairstylist in Amsterdam. That was a whole different experience. I could write a book about. It was a really good experience because after 3 months, I realized this is not my life. I can't live here anymore. All my children are there, and I couldn't do it. So, but the fortunate thing was I was able to save all my money. And when I came back, I bought a house, and that was, of course, a huge accomplishment. Then when I came back, the winery always said when I left, they said, well, when you come back, you can come back with us. So I went back to the winery. At that time, Tessa had finished her education with George Brown, her designing course, and she had been chipping in my ear already when I was in Holland. When I'm done my studies, we are going to start a business, and I was so tired of changing, and I didn't want to do anything else. And I knew how hard it would be to start a clothing business, designing business. And anyway, she's very stubborn, just like her mother, so she never let up. And that's when, while I was still working at the winery, we basically started Lousje and Bean, putting a little collection together in her spare time, doing home shows, and then I went part-time with the winery, and then eventually I had to quit and do Lousje and Bean full-time. Anyway, that is my life story, lovelies. My goodness, I'm tired talking about it, but unfortunately, I've been born with a very optimistic makeup. Every challenge that I met Of course, I've had quite a few hard years. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, but I have always been able to pick myself up and see the bright side somewhere through the little crack. And yeah, mostly done. So that comment, lovely, that you sent to the video, the Lousje and Bean Couch Talks, inspired me to tell you my life story. And I will, one of these days, I will write a book when I have more time. Okay, well, that was a very different couch talk, but I hope you enjoyed it and you are moving along as we are moving along with you and you are moving along with us. I think you have to be honest about, there's a few things, of course, that were very not nice that happened, but you know, those things happen, that's life, right? And that makes the nice things extra special. So I'm very grateful for my life right now, for having met Prince Glenn and live in this beautiful house. So lovelies, as I'm going to enjoy my Sunday, a nice cozy Sunday, I just want to talk quickly about my clothing. And this is that beautiful top from Crease House, this silk and linen top, and these beautiful Alambika pants, the black ones, and we have them in that beautiful paisley mauve color, and we have a few left. I own one of these pants and I wear it all the time. It's fantastic. It's got a lot of stretch. You can wear anything with it. And then I'm wearing a little mesh top. This one is, we don't have this color anymore, but we still have quite a few mesh tops. And I'm a top fan of my mesh tops, as you lovelies know. I just want to talk about my little cyclamen that I bought the other day. My mother used to have cyclamens in all her windowsills, and she would keep them for years, and they would die off and pick them up. But I am really good with plants. I shouldn't say, okay, I'm really good with plants, but I can't keep them that long. The way you water them, you put some water in this, like about this much, lukewarm, and then you put the little pot in there. It soaks it up from the bottom. You cannot water them from the top. I'm sure a lot of you lovelies know this, but I always like to tell people because I think it's so unusual. What a beautiful color. Exquisite. Okay, lovelies, I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. And as always, keep on smiling.